Just in here, underneath this sponge, is where the pumps are, and that does the roof as well as pneumatics for the rest of the car, like central locking, etc. So let's get into this and you can have a look and see what it's all about. So there's a good chance to actually have a look and make sure that everything is nice and dry in here. I've done a video, if you have a look below, and it shows where the water tends to come in just here and here. You can prevent that by a simple little sneaky fix using a bit of 10mm rubber tube. But today, I'm going to have a look inside. Now, when I bought this car, there was evidently a leak. And I could see telltale water signs all the way around. I've since fixed it. But one of the main things that you need to do is just here, there's a little drain plug. Just make sure you remove the plug. That way, if the water gets into the car from above, it's got somewhere to go. The person before didn't do that, and the water's never going to come up from outside. But importantly, it's got somewhere to go just in case there's a leak. And it's not going to fill the trunk because there's a lot of electrics in here. So underneath this little bag here, and I put a piece of plastic on there, is because the sponge is predominantly there just to reduce any noise inside the car. But naturally, it also soaks up a lot of water. Now this is lovely and dry, so I've got no issues in the trunk. But once this gets wet, it's going to hold the moisture against the electronics here. So it's a good idea, I like to anyway, just try and do what you can and put a bit of plastic over there. And it's lovely and dry, there's no issues at all. This is for the roof. It should only be half full of oil. And if you have a look just there, there's a little sign. There's a bit like a minimum and maximum. And it's sitting there just above the minimum. So that's okay, but I may need to top that up. Importantly, it's not supposed to be full. So if it looks like this, where there's roughly half the amount of oil in there, then you're okay. And do the obvious and just check around and make sure there's no leaks. Hello, mate. Of course. Oh, how did they get to you? Oh, thank you. That's really kind.
No, I tried to throw the wee dart over the bed, but it's so light I couldn't actually get it. Just kept
Thank you. That's great. Thanks. I was looking for that. Yeah, thanks. So I had all sorts of issues initially when I got the car with just temperamentalness, really. And what I found was in here, this little connection box, there was a load of water that had got in, and it had caused a lot of corrosion to the pins. So have a look at this and make sure it's all good. You can just twist it, by the way, and it will pop off. And inside here, but just make sure that's nice and clean in there, that there's no issue with any dampness, because that can give you all sorts of problems. There's also a relay that's worth having a look at too. Again, just check the pins, make sure there's no corrosion, no green what they call verdigris that can build up on there. There's another electrical connection at the back here. Again, just check that, make sure there's no moisture in there, make sure the pins are all good. To get to the main pneumatics underneath here, the best thing to do is take off the roof pump, and it's dead easy to do. Just get your little socket set. It's a little 10mm, and just whip off these 4 nuts. You'll notice that they're on little rubber shocks here, and again, it's all just good engineering that they've done it in this way to make sure that there's the vibrations from the pump don't come through to the car. This little filter you may find on your car doesn't have a tube on the other side of it. This was actually like it when I bought the car. What I found out is it's just a breather. And again, I've found people talk about, if you add a tube here, it's just basically goes through here and it sits up high. And what that's doing is, it's basically like a snorkel. It's not going to suck in or get blocked up, with any water. Okay, so with these nuts then removed, you can get a bungee cord now. You don't have to remove it, but you can just lift up this and keep it out of the way. And just hook it up here. And just keeps it out of the way whilst you have a look at this. Sorry, somebody's just got the hedge trimmers out. So underneath, you've got another little foam cover, and this is for your pneumatics, which do all of the air on the car. have a look closely. These yellow lines here, these all go to different things. You're going to have some going to the luggage section at the back of your car. You've got some going to the center console. You've got some going to the glove box. And they're all designed to lock, especially when the roof is down. And if you've got any issues with any holes in these pipes here, then you'll find that one of those items won't work. Obviously, of course, it does the doors and it does the trunk release as well, and the soft close. So again, I've kind of popped mine in a nice little bag. It's still lovely and dry, which is good. Thanks if you subscribe, by the way. I really appreciate it. Now, you don't have to put a bit of plastic on there. I do it because I know that these sponges, when they get wet, they can hold moisture. So it's just a good little tip. And actually, I can feel there's a little bit of moisture there, but it's on the outside of the bag, not the inside. So this unit goes in this orientation. When I got the car, somebody had put it in upside down. And even though it still worked, what he had done, he had actually caught one of these hoses here, and there was a hole in it. And that little hole was actually causing my, I think it was my glove box not to lock. So I managed to fix it. All these connections at the back here, I'm going to put a list down below of what all of these are. They all do different things. But if you find that you've got some issues, have a look at these connections. Put a little bit of soapy water or leak detection spray, and you should find, if there's any issues, that you'll get bubbles. You can see here that I've got one which is not connected, and there's one underneath there. It might be different on your car. So all of these, I'll put a list below exactly what they do. I've labeled this one here, which says rear box, because I had an issue, and this particular one here actually had a kink in it, and you can just about see it here. You can see just there where my finger is. It caused it to kink. Luckily though, it didn't put a hole in it. Another key point is on the back here. These connections to the pump. Make sure that these are nice and clean and there's no issues in there. When I took mine out, they were covered in rust, basically verdigris. So I had to give them a really good clean. So check both the female part of the pin and the actual pins on the pneumatic pump side. Inside here is the actual pump. And you'll get inside the back of the pump, there's little fins which can end up breaking, and you can replace them. You can get them online. I'll show you a little link for it. Or you can just buy another pump, but they can be quite expensive. All right, so popping it back in again. Let's make sure we tuck in these hoses first. There's a bracket at the back. You've got to kind of get them around. It can be a bit tricky, but so just check to make sure that there's nothing which is being kinked. It's very easy to accidentally catch one of these hoses here. And there's also one on the other side which goes towards the back of the car as well. So once you're happy with that, I like to get my bag now and wrap it onto it. And then pop your cover back on again. It just tucks in there. As I said, the foam is used to sort of deaden the sound really, so you don't hear it inside the car, but it has the negative effect of holding moisture, being a sponge, so we have to adapt things to make it as good as you can. Right, so now we got that on there. Don't worry about these cables here, by the way. These are my power cables for my amplifier. You won't have those. Right, undo your little bungee cord. And then just pop the roof pump back onto its 4 mounts, like so. that's all done. And obviously you won't have an amplifier either. Behind there is where the DVD is, for the sat nav, etc. Hey, by the way, appreciate it if you took the time to get to the end of the video and subscribe. It all helps, it really does. I'm only a one-man YouTuber, but I love to try and help people, and hopefully this little demonstration here of how to get to the pumps, both for the roof and for the pneumatics, maybe gets you out of trouble. You never know, with a bit of water in the trunk, those little bit of plastics might just save your bacon.
Maybe I'm a gangster too.